Pretty soon, you're going to be doing an assignment where you're going to be working on a portrait, okay? And you're going to be stylizing this portrait in sort of a cartoony kind of way, much as sort of the way this picture is, minus the color, okay? We will be adding color later. But you will have a chance to really what's going to be important beyond just adding color to the portrait, and actually you'll be working off a photograph, okay? But um, and so you'll essentially have the chance to trace, okay? So I don't know exactly how this portrait was created. I do have a feeling it was traced. Um, Actually, this person does have some tutorials at her website, and I do believe it does show her using a photograph to work off of. Okay, so we're going to use her image to kind of work off of to learn how to interpret things like hair, things like eyes, nose, lips, ears, uh, shoulder, arm, things like that into a weighted line. Okay, and that is this picture is a perfect example of using sort of a weighted stroke to create sort of depth and dimension into an artwork that's pretty much just represented uh, fairly flat, meaning it doesn't have any light and shadow. Everything we're relying upon for this image to give us sort of some sense of dimension is based on the line. Okay, so what I want you to do when you do this, I want you to focus on basically half of the hair. You can pick either this half or this half. I do want you to select the ear. You can leave the earrings out. There's no need to do that. Pick one of the eyes, either this eye or this eye. Do the nose and mouth. Do this side of the face, the cheek and the jaw and the chin right here. That line right there is really something, okay, in terms of it going from a thin to a medium to a thick, then back to a thin, and so forth. So I really want you to kind of focus on that some. And then this arm right here, okay? You don't have to do all this. You don't have to do all this, okay? All right, so let me show you how to set this image to do this. Okay, we're going to trace off the top of this image just to practice. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do this. So let's, first of all, we're going to double click on this layer and we're going to press OK. So notice how I unlocked it. And I'm going to come down here to the new layer icon and press on new layer. So put a new layer above it. So we're going to bring that down below. And then we're going to go over and fill it in white. So we need to reverse this so that we have white on top. Get the fill bucket. Click on this. And notice it didn't change this, but it did here. Okay, if I now dim out the eye on this, we can see we just create a white layer underneath. Okay, so I'm going to now select this layer again and come over and create a new layer on top. Now notice how this is checkerboard. This was originally checkerboard too. Every time we create a new layer, it creates a transparent layer. So if I dim this layer out, dim this layer out, notice how this is all checkerboard because it's just transparent. Okay. Therefore, if I turn this layer back on, I see all of that layer because there's really nothing on this layer on top to be covering this up. Okay. All right. So I'm going to cut this bottom layer back on too. All right. So I'm going to now select this middle layer. And I'm going to explain all this in just a second. Okay. All right. So on this layer, we want to take the opacity and bring this down to at least 50%. okay? And now we're going to click on this layer. All right, so let me explain what we've done. We have set up a situation here where we're going to draw on this layer, okay? We're going to use the brush. We're going to come over here and try to recreate these lines. And essentially what we'll be able to do is once we do that on this layer here, we can cut this layer off and then see our work. I'm going to demonstrate for you, okay? So I need to make sure this layer is selected. Notice how it's kind of a bluish gray. And I'm going to zoom in, okay? I'm going to start on the hair. All right, so I got my brush selected, got a hard edge brush, come here to my brush panel, make sure Shape Dynamics is on, make sure this is on pin pressure, off, pin pressure, this is on about 60, and you can see my mark there, okay? It's gonna be nice and calligraphic. So I'm gonna close that. Now I'm gonna pick up my stylus on my pen. Oops, I need to make sure this is black, and then I'm ready to go. Now, I did practice before I started doing this, and so I'm going about this pretty quickly, and that's probably because I did practice before I started this. So my computer has been very laggy. I'm going to try to move this over real quick, and you can kind of see how that's not working well. So I'm going to undo that. So whenever I try to move, it becomes very laggy. I don't really like how that turned out. I'm liking some of this. Don't like that. Don't like some of these. I do like that one. If that's the case, you can go back with the eraser tool, make it kind of big. I'm going to erase those. Now I could have done the undo, but I already went pretty far into doing all this. I want to undo all that. So let's go back and try to recreate these better than I did previously. All right, I feel pretty good about that. I thought I was going to went out too far with that, but when I did this one, it kind of took it out to it. Now I've not quite done 50% here. Now I do have something to say about tracing. You need to not watch your brush. Okay, if I watch my brush, like if I look right at my brush, like I'm going to do right here, and I just follow that path, generally you're not going to do so good. But also I was going pretty slow. It really helps if you kind of look where you want to go. So if I'm got my pen right here, I kind of want to look ahead, like maybe here or up to here. So as I start, I'm going to undo that. As I start, I'm going to start here, but I'm going to try to look here. And as I come up to here with the brush, I'm going to try to continue to stay out ahead of my brush. And that was bad. I'm trying too hard. That was better. I didn't try. is sometimes when you try, things just don't turn out so well. So I have to stop trying and just kind of let go. Um, I don't know. I found when I shoot pool, I'm better when I just don't try. When I don't struggle to aim so much, when I stop aiming, like intentionally aiming, I kind of do better. Um, I think that kind of does the same here. So you kind of have to kind of relax, okay, and just kind of aim, but just kind of just go for it, okay. All right, you always got your undo, Command Z, right? All right. So there are some things we can do to edit these lines. Okay, I'm going to zoom in on this if I can. My computer is so laggy. Um, if there's instances kind of like where you want to clean some things up, maybe right there, or maybe this is a little too bumpy there, you can go with your eraser and you can try to kind of clean some things up a little bit. I wouldn't do a lot with that because it kind of shows. Um, let's see. So just like if I want to clean that up, I didn't want that going out past there. If I want to kind of clean this up a little bit, and see that feels okay. Um, so you can use the eraser to kind of go in and kind of smooth some things out if you want to. Okay. So that kind of cleans things up a little bit. So I would expect you to at least do half. So if I was going to do half, I would finish this, finish maybe this right here. Now, let's get back to why we dim this out 50%. Notice how my lines are really dark and these are really dim, so therefore I can see my marks as compared to the layer underneath. If I made this layer, I'm going to click on it and make my opacity back to 100%. Notice how my marks just kind of don't really stand out. Okay, that's why I have that layer at 50%, sort of the layer that I'm tracing, so that the marks I make on top really stand out from the marks that I'm tracing. Okay, now if I dim out the eye on this, deselect it, notice how now my marks are now just on a white ground. My marks are here. I'm going to dim out the eye just to demonstrate. And this white layer underneath is making out the layer for that to show. So zoom out. Of course, it looks kind of weird right now. Don't really recognize, know what that is. But so uh, with the image back, you can continue doing half. I would do this half. If you want to do this half instead over here, that's fine. But do know I do want you to do one eye, one of these two eyes. Do the nose and mouth. Do the side of this face, and at least this arm right here. Okay, you don't have to do all of this or any of this. Okay, so essentially, if you really wanted to, you could also want you to do the ear. Okay, I think it's important to try to do the ear because the ears are just strange, you know, and by doing the ear, it kind of forces you to kind of think about the ear in terms of its shapes and so forth. Okay. But if you want to, you can almost cut this portrait in half. You could just say, okay, I'm going to go down through here and only do this half and then do the ear. And it's going to look weird, but that's all I expect you to do. If you want to complete the whole portrait, go for it. It'll be good practice for you. But if you just want to do what's required, that's all I require. Okay? So to save this and turn this in, you can save it just like it is because I'm going to be able to see what you trace because it'll be darker than the the image that's underneath that's kind of all dim. So that would be fine. You can turn it in just like that. Matter of fact, I can save it and just kind of show you what that would look like. So if I go to File, Save As, I'm just going to add practice to this. You can name it whatever. And of course, if I'm turning that in, I'm going to make it a JPEG. You can first save it as a PSD and then as a JPEG. I have this folder right now open that I've got all these files in. I'm going to save that to that just so I can show you what this looks like. Don't have that folder open, so let me open it. Well, I thought it would. Okay, so that's here it is. So you can see here, if you turn in your image and you have the image dimmed out underneath, I can see your work because I can see where it's darker and then where it's lighter from what you traced versus what was there to begin with. Okay. All right. So just continue, do half the hair, one eye, do the nose, do the mouth, do this side of the face, do this arm, do this ear. And I feel like that's good practice for you. Okay. That's it for this.